Hey guys, this is Blue Lotus Art Gallery at Tawasin Mills. They have some beautiful art here at reduced prices. Me and Ekamprit got a great deal on some beautiful pieces. I highly recommend you check it out.
What's up?
What's up?
It's been a long time, man.
Yeah, it has.
Good times. Man,
Yeah.
all this smoke, hey?
So much smoke
Yeah.
from
man,
those fires down in the United States
yeah.
that Antifa is starting. Those bastards. I hate those
Antifa.
guys.
Antifa started those?
Oh yeah, Antifa started them all.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're insane. They just want to light the world on fire. Communists.
Piece of shit Marxists.
Exactly. We can't have that happen up here in Canada.
No, we cannot. And so today, you know how we talked about universal basic income, right?
We did.
Yeah. Me and my teacher was actually talking about this. He said that universal basic income would not work in the United States. However, it could work in Canada. So the problem with our last debate is we never actually looked at Canadian statistics.
No.
We looked at the United States.
Well, it looks like they're gonna do it here.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Looks
Yeah.
like the BC Liberal Party is all in. It's their top priority on their agenda.
And you know what? It's going to work because, and it's not even going to be $1,000 for a month. It's going to be $1,800.
Yeah.
Around there. And my teacher was talking about the budgets and how our system is much more different than the United States. We've calculated the poverty numbers. We've calculated everything.
Yeah.
So it's going to work.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it.
I'm all for that.
But actually, I think they're going to do it in the States, too. Except it's going to be some really weird, corrupt government-owning new system.
Yeah.
That's what dude was saying. Adam Curry was saying on a podcast I was just watching. So
It's interesting. I don't
Yeah.
know how the United States... I think it's going to kind of be... You know, the United States... Oh, look at that car, by the way. Wow.
that's a beaut.
That's the Honda Accord.
Nice new
Yeah.
Honda
That's the
Accord.
color of my car. Just a little bitter. Anyways, got sidetracked. Yeah, but it's freaking crazy. Like, the United States numbers are way different. And I guess it's going to be hard for, you know, Justin Trudeau. He's given everyone, you know, CERB money, $2,000 per month.
Yeah.
Like, you know, giving everyone $2,000 a month is kind of outright insane. And if you
I think
about,
it kept things together here in a way that it didn't stay together in the United States.
Definitely.
The United States is on fire.
Definitely no. It was a great thing that he implemented. It kind of saved Canada, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the problem is, people think that he's doing it for the votes because he just gave everyone $2,000, and it wasn't. It was recorded, obviously, but it was just given away. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the other thing is, yeah, people just say it's you know how many votes he could have gained because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
well,
it's
you know
crazy.
what? I think it was a good move. I think it was necessary. It was necessary to
But
keep society together.
How is it gonna affect us in the future? Like,
I don't know. I'm not an
you know,
economist.
economics, economists, like figuring out all these numbers and how much debt there is.
Yeah. See, you were already complaining about how much money's been put out, and now they're going to do it every month for the rest of everyone's lives, like UBI.
Yeah. It's crazy how these numbers are gonna work. But again, you know, those numbers are still coming from, you know, removing, you know, healthcare money and kind of giving it to people. Like, let's say if I'm not going to be hurt for the rest of my life or don't get any illnesses, then that $1,000 is mine to keep. But however, if I do need to use that money, then that $1,000 is going to be put to good use by, you know, providing me with the healthcare I need.
Yeah. So you're for UBI in Canada now?
Oh, well, no. In Canada, I've never looked at
Thought
it.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but in the
Okay.
United States, I'm not for it in the United States.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because their healthcare system is fucked up too, you know? Like, it's all private.
Right.
It's like the United States is so much more different than Canada. If you think about it, we have it easy here. Everything's really easy for us.
Yeah. So you texted me. You wanted to you talk about Marxism.
Yes, I want to know everything.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, you know, like, what's going to happen. Many people don't believe us. Many people are looking at us right now. This is weird.
That's fine.
Yeah. I want to know. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So it's the Marxism. What do you want to know about it?
You know how Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
Many people say that the Black Lives Matter movement is just, it's a Marxist movement, but, many of the people that are in that movement or participate in the protests are not actually Marxist. They just want change. What do you have to say to that?
Well, it's true. A lot of the people, they just, well, it's because it's a funny time. Everybody's cooped up in their home, and it's like one opportunity to get out and be part of a crowd and do something interesting. It's like, go join Black Lives Matter, right? But the people who are organizing this stuff are openly Marxist. And it's not okay to be a Marxist. It's completely unacceptable to be a Marxist.
Why is it not okay to be a Marxist?
Because Marxism, everywhere where that ideology took root, turned into hell on earth, an absolute nightmare full of death and destruction and starvation and totalitarian, tyranny. It's awful. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. The capitalist system is the only thing that works, that we know, right? Communism doesn't. It killed over 100 million people. And because it became so obvious that that's what happens every time that ideology is unleashed, and you can see it in the United States now. There are people being executed in the streets. They're calling for the defunding of the police, and they're taking justice into their own hands. And what are they doing? They're doing violence all over the place, and that's what happens. That's what happens when you have lawlessness. You don't have a state. You don't have a functioning society with a working police force. It's not a good thing, but that is what happens when you see the beginnings of a Marxist revolution, which is what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah. And you were talking about defunding the police. Some people see that as a good thing, which surprises me because I don't want to be rude or anything, but I precisely think that their precise decision that they made is incorrect, and their mind has been so insufficiently cultivated that they just don't have the ability to understand. The police are here for a reason. It's a thing that protects us.
And what makes me think Michael is right about there being a big conspiracy of the major news media organizations, the platforms like Facebook and everything, and the government's being involved in all this. They're all in support of this. They pretend the riots aren't happening. The peaceful protests. They lied about it for so long. They lie about every single event that's happening. All the shootings that are happening. There's a whole bunch of lies coming up about that stuff.
But I think Trump, particularly in this situation, is the good guy.
Right, Trump is the good guy, and the bad guy is Biden and the liberal media and the liberal governors of places like Portland.
Portland, yeah. No, Trump. I've said this from the beginning. Trump's policies, everything he's kind of incorporated with his government, has been for the good. His policies. People say he's a conservative, but I would say he's a liberal.
Yeah.
He's a true liberal to some extent. He's a good president.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I was talking shit about him in our first podcast together, just because, I think he's got some unpresidential personality characteristics. He called that Stormy Daniels, called her horse face in a tweet. This is the president. This is a girl that he slept with, and he's calling her horse face.
Did you hear that thing he called about Rosie O'Donnell?
Oh yeah. Well, he called a lot of people a lot of things.
Oh, he's so the reporter was like, "You've called many women fat pigs and liars," and Trump was like, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." The funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so funny. Yeah.
That is funny. He's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy.
So I just, having him run a country, though, it worries me a little bit. But I guess he's better than the alternative. He's definitely better than the alternative. Biden is half dead. Biden's brain doesn't work.
His brain doesn't.
and he's in support of all this insanity. Like, let me tell you something about racism, okay? Systemic racism. It doesn't exist. It hasn't existed since 1970. Okay, systemic racism doesn't exist. All of those police shootings, those were justified police shootings. On the rare case, like, okay, so who's the guy with the knee in the neck? Jacob Blake?
George Floyd.
George Floyd, yeah. George Floyd was probably in a state of excited delirium from all of the drugs that he was on. He was saying, I can't breathe before he was on the ground. That's what the body cam video that came out showed, right? He was saying he couldn't breathe. He didn't want to go in there. He was having a panic attack. And actually, it is standard procedure to put your knee on the guy when he's in a state of excited delirium. And it is known that that people die in that state. Their heart gives out in that state. And George Floyd wasn't suffocated. He didn't die of suffocation. That's what the autopsy showed. Now, I'm not saying it was good. I'm not saying that cop handled the situation well. But it's not what you think. It's not what you think from these videos, and it's not what you think from the media that's trying to convince you that America is systemically racist, which isn't the case.
And it was also that other thing we were viewing, the Black Lives Matter incident that kind of popped up a couple weeks ago, actually, where the guy was shot 7 times, I believe, or 8 times. That was
Jacob Blake.
Jacob Blake, yes.
Yeah.
That was also a justified shooting, and at first I didn't think so.
That guy had just finished raping his ex-girlfriend with his fingers while her daughter was in the bed with her.
That is horrible.
Yeah, that's what he just finished doing. The police were called. He wasn't breaking up a fight like the media was lying and saying that they're like trying to make him out to be a good guy and a hero. These are all bad people. These are all people doing bad things. He was being arrested on 3 charges, including sexually assaulting his ex-girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's quite crazy, honestly. I don't they were all justified shootings, and I was actually looking into that, why this cop shot him 8 times. Well, even if you shoot a guy two times, he still has the physical ability to grab a knife.
Yeah, notice he didn't die, right? He didn't die. So he was shot as many times as necessary to incapacitate.
Yes, to incapacitate.
Yeah.
And the fake media, the fake media regime has put such a big influence on the young generation.
They're feeding them lies. They're giving them an anti-police attitude. You know about the police that were shot in Compton, executed in their car?
And where?
Two police officers were sitting in a car eating their lunch.
Yes.
When a guy came up and executed them both.
Wow.
Why? Because the media is turning people against police. Not only that, but it's so disgusting. I mean, people are out there at the hospital, blocking the entry and exit of the emergency room.
That's horrible.
Saying, I hope they die, and saying, you're next to the police. People are holding up signs saying, blue lives don't matter. Like, it's absolutely disgusting that the media supports this kind of attitude.
Why, though? Why? What do you think their agenda is to get rid of the police? Like, what's that going to do?
Well... What I see is a communist revolution underway in the United States.
You still need a police force in a communist revolution.
No, you don't. No. The police will stand in the way. The police will be what stopped the communists from taking power.
Oh,
they
really?
need the police to go away, so that they can take over the society.
No, but in a communist society, like let's say for China, they have a police force, right?
Eventually, but that's the communist police force. That's not the one that's run by the capitalist state.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes kind of sense. But why does the mainstream media want a communist revolution? Doesn't communism kind of create there's
an agenda,
a door for them that they kind of have to pass through, and if they don't, then they don't get to present their media.
The people who actually do the act of violent revolution are called useful idiots. They're not the people who end up in power. In fact, they're some of the first people to die after the people who are actually orchestrating the revolution get into power. So, they're useful idiots. There's something going on. There is an agenda. There is some people trying to take power, and they have the media in their grips. They have the the liberal governments and whatnot. I wouldn't call them liberal, but the left people.
The
on
radical left.
The radical left. They are radical. So yeah, that's what's going on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's insane to see, and it's insane to see how this mind virus, all of this shit that me and Michael were talking about, the critical race theory, queer theory, all of this nonsense, how it's taken over people's minds here in our universities. In Langara, widespread. I ran into a girl in a cafe recently, right? And I told her, she said, "What's toxic wokeness?" I was showing her my podcast.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, this critical race theory nonsense, that's leading to this communist revolution in the United States." And she said, "Well, I totally disagree with that." She said, there's systemic racism. They did an experiment where they had black people who were Confederates in the experiment, and it was like a tactical gun training course.
Yes.
And they would be, the black people would be the civilians, but they would jump out and people would shoot the black people first, and etc. And she didn't mention the, I forget what it's called, but it's implicit bias, testing and whatnot, where people are shown to have discriminatory attitudes. Like they can think of a negative word more quickly, or they can select a negative word more quickly after viewing a black person, and select a positive word more quickly after viewing a white person or something like that. Implicit bias testing. And that's all corrupt science too. It's bullshit. And especially now that they're implementing all these implicit bias retraining sessions and everything, it's pure indoctrination, and there's no scientific data that show that it works.
It's very interesting. I also wanted to touch up on the topic of cynical theories.
Yeah.
So explain to me what that is, because I really want to read that book by Rosa Pluckrose.
Her name is Helen Pluckrose.
Helen Pluckrose, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does she
James
talk
Lindsay.
about?
Okay, so it's a play on the term critical theories, right?
Yes.
But they're saying what they are is cynical theories. They are falsely making people think that everything in society has this really negative, prejudiced, element to it. Every interaction is there's prejudice in everything, right? And everything's about power, right? It's just a big network of power, and different people are at different. The intersectionality aspect is the idea that if you are a certain race or a certain gender, you'll have more or less power, right?
Yeah.
And a straight white male is at the top of the power game, right? And if you're say black and female or transgender or something, then you're way low down in the intersectionality. You have these different elements that influence that. So what the book is basically saying is that it's trying to turn upside down, all of the actual progress that's actually been made in society, and deny that it has been made, and deny that systemic racism is actually not an issue. It's illegal to discriminate on anyone based on the color of their skin. It's illegal to preferentially treat them. And just think about it. If people don't care about your race when they're hiring, they care about if you can make money for the company.
Yeah.
That's the way people think. But they're trying to convince you that there's all this racism
When there really isn't.
When there really isn't.
Do you believe that?
I do. I believe that some people, some ignorant people that are in
kind of came up with this
lower
term, right?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, you know what? The way I view it is, many people in society, and it's been like this, for hundreds of years. In fact, the funny thing is we're learning about racism right now in our schools.
Yeah.
And I was curious, why is the curriculum making us learn this? So I asked the teacher.
Yeah.
And she says, it got changed, and they want you to learn about this. So if the government is kind of instigating, you know what? first of all, even telling a person saying that black and white, it's already causing problems right there.
It is.
Just
it is.
the-
You're
just
not
the
supposed
word-
to sensitize people to the color of
Color
people's
of
skin and making it matter.
Exactly. So if you're saying
Yeah.
black and white, that's already causing issues in society.
Yeah, it's
You're-
it's a
you're
racist
separatizing them.
ideology.
Yes.
You're creating racism.
Exactly.
They are racist.
They are racist.
and they're openly racist.
and they're openly
they will
racist,
admit
yeah.
they're racist.
And that's what's really interesting to me is because look, just saying black versus white is not equality. It's not. It's separatizing everyone, and it's creating.
Of course, they have bullshit answers to all of this, though. Like they'll say, "Oh no, but racism is a problem, and it's implicit, and you don't notice it's there, but it's a real problem, and we want to get to a place where we overcome it." It's all bullshit. That's not true. Like we have we've
you will
overcome
never
it.
if you're government's gonna quote me one day, like
Yeah.
you will never be able to get rid of racism the way we are pursuing it right now.
No, it's
never.
ridiculous.
It's
And
ridiculous.
it bothers me that it's in the schools like that here
It
in
is,
Canada.
it is, it
And
is.
yeah, so they're getting it into people young as if it's true, and it's all bullshit. So sad.
And the funny thing is that the students don't pay attention to kind of take note on this. Like I was in class and nobody wanted to talk. Like everyone was just doing what they were told to do.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Like and this should be part of the new education system. Like
Yeah.
me and Michael could actually elaborate on this. He's talking about pre-calculus in like what, grade 1? That should be a thing.
Well, it's this some people, I don't know who they are, but some people are. Michael is right. I've realized that actually, just maybe this morning. There are people who are doing this on purpose. There's a playbook being used from history, and it comes from communist Russia. It's Orwellian shit where they want to control language, so this political correctness, and they want to control people. And control what they're able to say. They're changing the meanings of words, which was called like newspeak in Orwell's 1984. They're doing all this right now. My friend's getting banned from Facebook for suggesting that there's a difference between men and women.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there is a biological difference.
There's massive amounts of differences
Yes.
between male and female psychology. They're completely different. Joe Rogan said a funny thing about it. He said, it's like throwing a ball for your cat and saying, "What are you doing? Go get it." Like
Yeah.
the dog goes and gets it. Why don't you get it? They're completely different.
Yeah, no, and the only and you know what people have done is, well, I don't know if it's people, but basically what I'm from my interpretation, I think that people have kind of created this these categories in society where we categorize people.
Yeah.
And this classism, right? You see that, right? You see the classism that people offer, like. You go into a restaurant, and if you dress like a rich person, like wearing a tuxedo, you will be treated like good.
Yeah, I think that hierarchy is natural, though. I think that there is hierarchy, and that manifests in people's status. People who are of higher status show that status, and that shows, and people respect people more if they're of a higher status, and that's, it's not perfect, and it can be corrupt. It can lean towards that, but it's like that's why you have to have the liberal side of society to balance that out, make sure things don't tilt into tyranny, right? Because when you have a hierarchy, things can it tilts towards tyranny. So you have to have people fighting to keep a balance in society, right? So that's why you always have the left and the right balancing each other out.
Yeah.
And that's a functioning society. You need to have that.
Yes, it is a functioning society.
Yeah.
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 I guess like for the people who say, well, yeah, so you need a functioning society which contains hierarchy, and UBI would kind of, well, it wouldn't kind of, but it would kind of destroy that in a way. I guess the term.
No,
what do you think?
because there'll still be a capitalist economy.
There will.
There'll just be a safety net at the bottom, which we already have. It's called welfare. This is probably, to me, it's just a better one. and it's distributed evenly to everyone, so there's nothing unfair about that. And if you like, the thing you were complaining about was the people at the top getting it.
Yes.
Well, Michael makes an incredibly good point. Those people at the top are there because they provided like so much value for you and me that they deserve that $1,000. They deserve that dividend from our economy. They deserve it.
What meaning did they provide us with?
No, value. So people are
value. Sorry.
In a functioning capitalist society,
Yes.
people get to the top of it because of competence. It's not the Marxists will say it's all power and dominance. No, we're not chimpanzees. We're humans. Humans' hierarchies are governed by competence. And a very small percentage of people actually contribute the most. It's called a Pareto distribution. So people who are of a very small percentage will produce almost everything, and almost everybody else will produce almost nothing.
Okay.
Right? And that's because it's not a bell curve where there's a gradual, these people produce almost nothing and then the people in the middle produce a lot. It's not like that. No.
It's the people on the top that produce most of the things.
Right. So
that's true.
Yeah. They produce. That's why they got to the top, because of competence. The people at the top of human hierarchies are the most competent and the most productive people.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But and if they are, then they already have the money. Why do they need $1,000 extra? That makes no sense.
Well, it's just
$1,000 to them is nothing. A dividend.
Wait, but
they don't
why?
need
Why?
a
But you
dividend.
can't complain about it because they deserve it. They've
already
so
gotten
productive.
so many more benefits from the government. The government does offer federal grants and bonds to these people. Like they buy certain percentages.
If any
it's
of those
not just
if
all
any
of
of those
theirs.
things are problematic, then those can be fixed. But the idea of having a guaranteed, actually, is a guaranteed basic income the same as a universal basic income?
Well, let's just define it. Guaranteed, you're gonna get it.
Well, guaranteed. It can be guaranteed if you're below a certain amount of income, in the same way welfare is.
That's what you got.
Well, I don't know if that's what it means, like the definition, because right now their top priority is guaranteed basic income. Now was assuming actually that's the same as universal basic income.
No, it's not. It's a very big difference.
Okay, well, I'll check that out.
And universal basic income. Yeah, guaranteed basic income is.
If you need it.
I think that's great.
Guaranteed
it. Yeah. No, they should do that. I am all for guaranteed basic income, by the way.
Yeah. Giving but I liked Michael's thing because I like Michael's thing, and because it's the same concept as Andrew Yang. You're getting a dividend off the economy, and everybody gets it. That makes sense to me because that does seem fair to me. And when he pointed out that these people at the top not giving it to them, or like, why don't they deserve the Canada dividend too? They should. If everybody gets it, then it's fair. And the people at the bottom, they actually need it to survive. The people at the top get it because they deserve it. What's the difference? And then if you do it by inflation, then you're taxing everybody equally. You're taxing the entire economy.
I feel like
by just printing the money and giving
it out. I
it
feel like giving Canadians a dividend it's already happening now. Like, we already have so many benefits, so many of the Canadian luxuries that you wouldn't get in third world countries. Like, we're a first world country. It's not necessary. Like everyone should have the ability, and they do already have the ability to get a job.
Okay, but
and Ben Shapiro agrees with this.
I know, and Ben Shapiro is a right wing guy, and that's why I've been telling you you're a conservative. You don't
I'm
seem
a
to
liberal
know.
conservative.
I know what you mean. Me too. I'm a moderate centrist and very progressive liberal in my general base attitude, but conservative in terms of just being very pro capitalist system, pro people earning their own living.
Yeah.
I'm not. If the farther left you go, you really want just a welfare state. You think everybody should share the
wealth. I
wealth.
can agree that I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
So I'm a normal, not a normal, but I am better.
Centrist.
Centrist.
That's called
yeah.
A centrist. Yeah.
And I think it's good being a centrist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm too conservative, but
Well, that attitude of we shouldn't give money to anybody. They should all work. Everybody has the same opportunity. It's up to the individual to make a living for themselves.
But okay, let's say I do say that. But what I'm saying is, how I've talked about rehabilitation and education and
right.
And the Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau,
Yeah.
has created more programs, more job opportunities, actually just more programs in general. The Liberal government has done that. They've invested just in Surrey here. Sukh Dhaliwal, he's our local MP in Newton. He's funded over millions and millions of dollars. I think it was 7 million in the Surrey parks, so children can, develop their senses and kind of explore the world. And the education system has been funded. I still think the education system is horrible as shit.
Yeah.
Totally never going to get better. Sweden, Finland, it's fucking crazy.
But like what I'm trying to tell you though is that liberal people are more like, hey, take care of the people that can't take care of themselves. Give them welfare. That's what the left job is. It's to take care of society's dispossessed. And the farther left you go, the more closest to like communist ideas you get, where you think that all the wealth should be shared equally and everyone's equal and there shouldn't be any hierarchy. That's
a communist thing.
That's a communist thing, and that's why I'm saying these critical race theory. It's about equity. It's the idea that everybody should.
So critical race theory is communist
equal.
Theory.
It is. It's all rooted in Marxism.
Yeah.
It is. It comes from Foucault, which comes from Marxism. These are Marxist intellectuals.
So cynical theory is the opposite then. No?
No. Cynical theories are critical theories. That's what they are. It's cynical. Cynical is a negative thing. It means that you think everything is bad.
Bad,
you think society is just a bunch of tyranny and powerful people having prejudice.
Is beautiful. Look, I'm looking at society right now. Look, it's a functioning thing.
Yeah, there's nobody getting murdered except in the United States, where
exactly.
I saw a video. It was disturbing. I didn't know what I was about to watch, but it was a guy with a skateboard. And he said, say the N-word again, right? And it's just this skinny Chinese dude outside of a bar who's probably drunk, maybe a little bit stoned. And he's like, say the N-word again, and I'm going to hit you in the face with this skateboard, right? Yeah. And the guy's he's like, he says the N-word. And then the guy takes the skateboard and hits him in the face as hard as he can. Hits him in the face as hard as he can. It was attempted murder on camera. It was absolutely sickening. And the guy doesn't know what hit him. He didn't even try to get out of the way. That's why I assume he was drunk and high. And this is the morality police that you're seeing down there. That's critical race theory at work. Is that what you want? Is that the police that you want society to have? Do you want senseless violence in the streets?
Well, that's what's going to happen.
That's what is happening down there.
Yeah, well, it is happening, but with the communist, especially if it's a new revolution of communism, it's going to be really bad.
Well,
like China now, I don't know what their murder cases is. They probably don't even freaking tell us the truth.
By the way, China, do you know what the communist revolution looked like over there? Did you look into it at all?
Right now?
No, the revolution that made it communist, the Maoist revolution. It was called the Chinese Cultural Revolution.
You know what? I learned it in social studies, but they don't touch base on the core.
They don't. You know why? Yeah. Because for some reason teachers tend to be very Marxist in their thinking. So that's why you don't learn about all the atrocities that the Marxists did this century.
Yeah, the teachers
last century.
Yeah, why is that? Okay, off record.
No, off record.
Okay,
let's talk about it.
No, but my teachers are going to listen to this, probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we're not talking about them in particular.
Yeah, we'll talk about this after.
It's the curriculum as well, right? They don't touch on that stuff because it's not in the curriculum.
But what I've noticed is they are Marxists. Why is that? Because they've been so influenced, goddamn, by the freaking media. They've went to universities. They've been educated by the
also, they've been educated by the same people who are hiding the truth about history. Okay, so the Chinese Cultural Revolution, by the way, looked like what's going on in the United States right now.
It started...
That's fine. It started with things called struggle sessions, okay?
Yes.
Now, the struggle sessions are what are happening at the universities right now. They're what are happening on Twitter, on Facebook, all these people saying things that the people instigating this revolution don't like, right? So they have these struggle sessions. Anybody who was against the communist uprising, right? They had dunce caps put on their head and they were publicly humiliated, right? And that's what's happening to people now who go against the communist ideology of critical race theory and queer theory and all these other ridiculous ideas.
What do you have to say about the universities and people, because you told me they're corrupt. They're freaking corrupt.
They are. They have this ideology,
Professors are Marxists?
Not all of them.
I think some
there
are
are people
very
who
smart.
hold out, but I saw more than not, I saw people who were at the very least held captive by this ideology. They were forced to teach things because they're now in the curriculums. Some of them I could see don't even believe it, but they still had to pander to it. And because they did, they get props. They these students who are all for it, the social justice warriors, critical race theorists and queer theorists. Like in psychological disorders, we had to learn that 10% of people are intersex, which is fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit. There's a very, very small fraction of a percent of people who are intersex, and the rest are male or female.
Intersex. What do you mean?
It's the blurring of boundaries. The idea that male and female are made up categories. They're not biological. They're not necessary for the
then those guys are idiots.
Propagation of the species.
Thinks that.
Yeah, they are, but that's queer theory. Queer theory wants you to forget all boundaries, forget all sexuality and gender and sex boundaries.
Well, technically, if you think of that from a religious perspective, that's the idea of oneness, right? Well, you know what? Not even that.
No, it's the idea.
I think people don't understand oneness. Oneness means we are all technically one, right?
Yeah.
But God has kind of different branches offset, we do our own thing, everyone does our own thing, but then we kind of go back to that one Lord.
Sure, but that's not their motivation.
No, that's obviously not. I'm just saying that's what I think. That's obviously not their motivation. They don't. These guys are idiots.
Well, what's bizarre is like the way it actually functions. This is how it's functioning. So you've got these people putting this bizarre nonsense, anti-scientific ideas out there, and then they're enforcing it. They're calling anybody who goes against it. They're accusing them of hate speech. They're calling them racist and sexist and misogynistic and all these things just for stating biological facts. People are getting fired for their jobs. A famous, noteworthy one was the guy from Google, James Damore. He got fired for writing a memo saying that actually there are sex differences. That got him fired. Sex differences between males and females.
That is, in schools right now we're learning about differences and respecting genders. So why is it?
Well, you're learning about respecting genders, but you're learning about respecting made-up genders that don't exist.
Yeah, and that's what's pissing me off.
That's the blurring of boundaries and the creation of nonsense so that they can control. They can, that's what I mean.
You know what? That's so
cancel culture. It's for cancel.
I don't want to say it out loud because there's many people. Well, we do have freedom of speech.
Yeah, please.
It's our prerogative.
Speak freely. That's our job. We're a podcaster.
Yeah, it's our prerogative.
Yeah.
And I really want to get some that stuff right there later. Pick it up, Peter Pitt.
Okay.
It was really good the first time,
It was
right?
decent.
I loved it.
Yeah.
The pineapple.
Yeah.
Got some really good taste.
You think they'll give us fruititas for saying that?
Probably. By the way, let's advertise them. Pita Pit, guys. Scottsdale and 72 Center.
Try the black bean patty. It's delicious.
Black bean patty, and it's all vegetarian for all you vegetarians out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's quite tasty, actually. We really enjoyed it. And shout out to the owner of the store.
So where were we?
Yeah, we were talking about queer theory and schools, and particularly teachers.
Yeah.
And how they teach.
Well, it's been put into the curriculum.
It has.
So they're forced to teach this stuff, and a lot of them unfortunately believe it because you're right. They were trained by the professors that indoctrinated them with this stuff.
Well, I feel like we're outsiders now, like Trump.
Yeah. Well, there's more of us than you might think. They're just
really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like trust me, this perspective is popular. It's just not as vocal. But you get people coming with what do you call it? Reactionary groups like the Proud Boys and whatnot. The Proud Boys have existed for a long time. Antifa has existed for a long time. But the Proud Boys were created in order to go out and beat up Antifa guys.
Yeah. I was actually reading this post. I don't know who it was. I believe I sent it to you. It to you.
But the reason is because Antifa is an extremely violent group
that
is doing violence all over the place with the government's support at this point.
Yeah, and this was the tweet. It said Antifa and BLM, Black Lives Matter, should be labeled as terrorist organizations.
They should. Yeah, you sent me that, and that's absolutely
Yes,
true. They are.
It's very true. And
They are terrorist
if they
organizations.
if they are organizing crime related
And violence,
protests,
they're
or
organizing all
yeah,
that.
and actually pursuing this protest in a violent manner, then yeah, why are they welcome in a country like the United States?
Well, that's the weird thing. I mean, I don't know if it's as simple as, Joe Biden wants their vote because he sees that they're a powerful constituency. Or
just,
it's more sinister than that, and it's a globalist, agenda, and China is involved, and it's part of a large plan to destabilize society so that some kind of a power grab can occur, which is what has happened historically in communist revolutions.
no, Joe Biden is what you call a follower. He's a follower. He follows people, and what he does is he retains that knowledge, and he follows the powerful people. That's not what Trump does. He's his own person. He's an outsider. But Joe Biden is like every other person, right? He uses the power of the organization to help him get to the top, and that's what's creating conflict, I guess. But no, not only that, like it's these idiots that would follow the people who listen to the media, mainstream media.
But Michael has been sending me stuff that's expanding my awareness of the issue of China trying to dominate globally, and China actually having an agenda. It's becoming more clear with the more videos that I watch. And the thing you sent me, the Trump promotion where they talked about his relationship with China. It may be more sinister and more organized than
You think?
than we might think.
So explain that to me. I just want to get
so
background knowledge.
What initially stems out of greed and the desire to do international trade, like Joe Biden's son doing the multi-billion-dollar deals with China, can turn into a relationship where they actually assist China in anti-American or maybe even some even larger globalist agenda where they're trying to create a one world government situation. I have no idea. These are all conspiracy theories that have floated around for a long time, and they might have validity. I don't know.
You never know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Anything else that we want to cover today?
I mean, yeah, man, we're just sitting in your car here, chilling.
Yeah. Well,
I like this air, man. Like, look at that. The sun's clearing up. The fog is almost gone. Right?
Yeah, I wonder how they're doing with those fires
smoke,
down there.
Sorry. Yeah, it's
Those fires that Antifa is probably starting, that terrorist organization.
I never actually focused on whoever started those and how they.
Well, I saw it on Tim
ignored
Pool.
it.
Tim Pool's another guy who you should
Yeah,
watch, right?
you sent
So
sent it to
here's
me.
the reason I say that Antifa has been starting fires. It's because an Antifa guy was arrested for starting a fire.
Okay.
And there's a video that came out of a police officer talking to a guy who was giving them information about some guys that were riding around, suspicious guys, and how they found that they had stashed gasoline and things like that, fire-starting stuff, right? And the police officer straight up said that Antifa is out here trying to start wildfires. So whether he actually knew something, I mean, he's a human being. He's fallible. He might it might just be his opinion, and they might have no basis. But a guy who was associated with Antifa was arrested for starting a fire, an outdoor fire, patch of grass or something. I don't know, but that did happen, and this police officer suggested it, and Black Lives Matter and Antifa, they're out there, they're burning stuff down. They're burning lots of stuff down. They're doing all kinds of violence. There's video after video, like Michael was saying, he could just post video after video for days upon end of Antifa and Black Lives Matter violence.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting. It's absolutely sickening, the things that they're doing. So, and they're the good guys? No.
I've never actually met Michael yet. Just want to say hi to you, Michael. Hello.
What's up?
He's probably gonna watch this, right?
Probably.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that it hasn't come here to Canada. That we don't see violence and these protests.
We
about
did.
nothing
We did in
the streets.
Toronto. We did in Toronto,
Did
but
we?
we neutralized that really well.
Good.
In fact, the way we did it was super smart, and I think Justin Trudeau has to do something with that. He took a knee, right? He took a knee down.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
So what he did was, this is my interpretation of what happened. He went down to their level. He kind of explained them what's happening, and he complied with them. He said, "We're not going to defund the police, but we will get body cams." So he's agreeing with them on a certain level, and he provided the entire Toronto Police Department with body cams, and
That's good.
yeah, he neutralized the situation. Justin Trudeau has always had a way of doing things, and he's always had a way of messing up and fucking up things too. We've seen that, right? I don't know how his elections might go, but the reasoning why it wouldn't go is because that fraud deal that happened, right? We Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many of these things are gonna pop up, but with the Canadian government, what we see more often is sorry. Stephen Harper's government said sorry. Justin Trudeau said sorry for like 2 things, and then it's just it's this position that we showcase that's kind of weaker than the United States. I don't know if maybe that's the reasoning. We just kind of let it go, whereas the United States wouldn't.
Yeah, we're polite.
Yeah,
we apologize.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think we have less of a.
We don't want to live up to that, like we are weaklings. Like we could probably kick some American ass, like.
Oh yeah, it's not weakness to apologize. That's a good Canadian quality.
Yes.
Yeah, and I said some things in the podcast with Michael about how I think that Canadians are by and large smarter than people in the United States, and that's a misstatement. Obviously, there's a lot of
sorry?
by and large smarter.
Large smarter.
By and large means in general, on a whole,
yes,
smart.
Yeah.
That's not true. Obviously, there's a lot of intelligent people in the United States. I think that maybe in some places the education system's a little bit worse, and some Americans or groups of Americans.
Yeah, but Americans are more they're more political driven.
Yeah.
Like they literally are. Like every person would know about politics there.
Yeah.
Except for probably the teenagers there even pay attention to the politics.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because they've advertised it to children at such a young age. Did you know Trump is canceling TikTok?
Yeah, I heard.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know how much BS shit? Not BS, but good things are being published on TikTok?
Sure, but they should
About
use a
Trump.
platform that's
About
not a secret Chinese spy company.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't even know if that's a real if that's true or not, if they're actually stealing data.
Anything from China is the Chinese government, and the Chinese government.
Yeah, but what would they need to steal? What would they need to steal? It's children on their goddamn.
They are doing stuff in the United States right now. Like I do believe that they're involved. I'm going to listen to more of this Adam Curry. He made that claim.
Yeah. I mean, they are publishing content, and there are lots of bots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's.
Well, he thinks they're involved in like I have been calling it, the communist revolution that's currently underway in the United States. He thinks that China's involved.
I don't think a communist revolution would start, though. I think it would be neutralized before.
I certainly hope so, but it does, it's happening.
If Trump doesn't get elected, in 2020, when is the elections? 2020? October?
I thought it was coming up, like November.
November,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get elected, then we're fucked, dude. We better just move to Thailand or something.
Yeah, well, I don't
We
know
could
what's
take
going
your
on, but I
equipment.
would definitely move to
I
Thailand.
mean, this equipment's universal. We can globally,
For
like
sure.
international. We could just take it there.
Yeah.
I don't know if the YouTube guidelines.
I'll bring my
there.
whole family. We'll all get in my mom's boat, and we'll just sail the seas.
No, I'll get in my friend's yacht. We'll just take that. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to Thailand, man.
Yeah, let's go to Thailand.
Refugees.
No, the yacht is actually beautiful. It's a nice big yacht, and
Yeah.
it's got everything. We could probably live on it for like 3 months.
My mom's is like a small yacht.
Okay,
It's
well,
not.
that's nice.
I said sail the seas, but that was just
Yeah.
kind of like a
Kind
metaphor.
of, metaphor. No, I
Yeah.
have some really, really rich friends in Washington, like I mentioned, and they could probably just buy us like a freaking plane or some shit.
Oh yeah, we could take like a private little plane and
Yeah.
radio with the Thailand people. Say, hey, we'll pay you when we get there. We know you guys like money, so
Yeah.
just let us land at your airport.
They could just fill a suitcase full of cash or some shit if they wanted to.
yeah, whatever. You know.
Right? I mean, whatever.
Yeah, but I would fight to keep Canada from falling to the communists.
We don't have any say though.
I'd join the Canadian military. Hopefully it'll still be hopefully it's not taken over by critical race theorists, radical
Yeah.
critical race
Yeah.
theorists.
I
The United States
no, but
military.
the Canadian military is probably full of all of these critical theorists and cynical
Oh,
theorists.
I don't know. I hope not.
No, because look, why join the military? You join the military because you think that the world needs saving from something. Right?
Or because you have no other options. That's a popular reason.
It is a popular reason.
Yeah.
Many poverty-stricken people go into the military.
Yeah.
Go join it, yeah. Yeah, it's... I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah. And actually the critical race theory is mostly an elitist thing, so it might not be the kind of people that go to the military, but they could still influence the...
Wait, so you would go to the military
training,
just to
military
try and save Canada? You know how...
Sure I would.
You know how the military doesn't even really affect anyone these days?
Well,
it's all technology.
I would hope
like,
that-
there's UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles,
Yeah, nevertheless.
that could probably destroy all of Surrey in about 20 seconds.
But you know that National Guard that idiot United States cities keep rejecting? The National Guard that Trump's trying to, offering to send
yes,
into the
yes.
streets to quell the
in
uprising.
Portland?
Yeah, in Portland and other
Yes,
cities, right?
they don't accept it.
Kenosha. Yeah.
Why aren't they accepting it?
Oh, because they're in bed
Marxists.
with the Marxists. But
So they want to let them destroy their goddamn town? These guys are fucking idiots.
well, yeah, I mean, instability does seem to be.
And then they
one of
ask
the
for a
goals.
federal like grant or something for their town. All these mayors, like
Yeah, I don't know.
stupid.
The thing is, Trump can.
seriously, like you destroy your own. You let the Marxists destroy your own city or town, Portland, let's say,
Yeah.
and then you don't have any money to rebuild it, because you've used it all on some of these other resources.
Let me tell you something weird, okay? Speaking of rebuilding, what's his name? Biden's slogan for his campaign, along with Justin Trudeau and people in other countries, is "Build Back Better."
Build back better.
Build back better.
So they want to fucking destroy and then build back better.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Isn't that what's happening
And it
now?
seems to be coordinated. It seems to be coordinated amongst multiple governments.
That's a conspiracy theory.
But why is it "Build Back Better"? So you want it to be torn down
No way. Justin
and then
Trudeau's
build back
thing
better?
is
Yeah,
like that.
well, that's what Adam Curry said about Justin Trudeau this morning.
Justin Trudeau's slogan.
Just look up Justin Trudeau, "Build Back Better."
What is Justin Trudeau's slogan?
Like, make sure that you type in "Build Back Better," because
Was real change.
he might have multiple slogans, right?
Yeah, it was real change. That's what
no,
I'm wondering.
Google "Build Back Better" Justin Trudeau.
Build back better, Justin Trudeau. Building back better nature.
Nature Canada.
That's something else.
Yeah.
One day ago, Justin Trudeau needs to remember that when setting a trap, don't snare yourself.
Yeah, we'll find it later, but according to Adam Curry, he's associated with that slogan.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's weird, eh?
Well, it is. Yeah.
I don't know. Justin Trudeau may probably be doing some weird shit right now, eh?
Something's going on. I don't know what
like,
it is.
you know, like we haven't. It's all been focused on COVID. What else are they doing? Signing agreements or some shit? Like,
Yeah.
we don't
Well,
know
I
any
mean,
of it.
Alex Jones, who, by the way, was universally deplatformed for some conspiracy theory or other that he might have been wrong about. He might have botched one. You know, that happens when you're constantly focused on conspiracy theories, and many of them happen to be actually real. Yeah, so he got deplatformed, but he's been shouting for years
Yeah.
about the globalist agenda, the one world
You know
government,
what?
the new world order.
George Orwell says, he says that when you want to speak the truth, others won't like to hear it, and they'll try and shut you up.
Yeah.
So, hats off to George Orwell.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, you fucker.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, but I just hope that that Canada keeps it together. We can be a good example on the world stage.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I believe when it was us signing the Treaty of Versailles, we were just so eager to get on the board, on the ship, on board the ship.
Yeah.
United States was already obviously there, right?
Yeah.
They were the ones who kind of came up with that, and Canada just needed to be on that ship for it to succeed, and they goddamn made it on the ship by proving them that their military is bomb. Do you know that the Battle of Vimy Ridge was one of the smartest battles ever fought in history?
Is that right?
Yeah. Battle of Somme. Millions and millions of soldiers died. Millions and millions. I'm telling you. Big, big, big destruction. But the Battle of Vimy Ridge was fought and directed by a Canadian general, which was never done before. And I forgot his name. It was Craig something. And, you know, he led the fight. He had a strategic plan that, you know, they built tunnels underground, and then they came up close to Vimy. And then, you know, when the time they even practiced, this is the first time soldiers were actually practicing, because when World War One began, they were just recruiting soldiers. They only had 1 day to train, and that's it. And yeah, it was amazing, because this battle, they went underground, came up, and within hours they had Vimy, which was surprising as hell, because the Germans were fucking scared at that time. You know, like, first time, smart people. So I feel like Canada has a reputation of proving the world wrong, and that's where I'm tying this up with. They have a reputation of proving the world wrong, every time.
I'd love for that to be true.
Yeah,
in this case.
and I think this time it might happen, because through history we have already seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We just need people to be reasonable, to see things for what they are, to understand that our society is the best it's ever been right now.
Like, if
we
you
do need
understand, like,
progress. We always need progress.
We do.
We always need the left to balance society so that it doesn't become tyrannical.
yeah, and the other thing I was gonna say is, like, sorry I interrupted, but
Yeah.
like, let's say, like, my dad comes from work, right?
Yeah.
And he just doesn't have the time to look at this. Like, nobody does, and everyone's just caught up with the make money, gotta pay your bills, and, like, you know, everyone's just busy, you know, like,
Yeah.
we all work, and we all go to school, and yet there's this underlying issue of a communist revolution that's about to start, right?
Right.
So that kind of scares me as well, just like it did to you, you know, because you understand that, and you interpret it like in a different sense. But yeah, I understand now.
Yeah.
Freaking scary.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a little sensationalistically about it. I mean,
Sensationalistically.
It's pretty bad. You know what these Black Lives Matter protesters are doing. It's pretty bad, but you know, if you only focus on that stuff, you ignore all the good stuff, and you ignore all the rational people, the reasonable people that aren't doing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you live a good life, right, and follow the principles of, you know, just, you know, what my teacher said today. He said, I have good karma and I believe in reincarnation because if it were to be true, he said, actually, I come from old Irish kings and I was actually a king in my past life. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're a teacher now. That's
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're a teacher now. Yeah, so he was an Irish king, and
Yeah, you got to have something. You got to
have good faith and good karma. So
you have to have an individualistic way of being too, because this identity politics, you can't be free from it, right? Like you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and to say nobody but God can judge me, and not buy into all this nonsense and have a sense of meaning and purpose in your own life, so that you don't let stuff make you mentally ill. Like I've heard Michael saying that this stuff is affecting his mental health, right, when he looks at this stuff, but you can't let it, right?
You absolutely can't. And my neighbor was telling me, he's a really educated person.
Yeah.
He was telling me religion has actually, did you know religion is government?
It shouldn't be. The separation of church and state was a big important thing that happened in history.
So I explained to him, no, that's actually very, very wrong. I don't know where you're getting that from, but the reason he said that was because many, many years ago, it was a form of government to kind of control people, control society.
Oh, that religion was a type of government?
Yes.
Okay.
And it kind of is if you think about it, but not in the sense of, democracy and all that bullshit and, capital and stuff like that. But
just a means of controlling.
It's become more political now.
Yeah.
Everyone has a personal gain. You have a personal gain. I have a personal gain. Everyone has a personal gain. For you to understand knowledge, or the reason you understand knowledge, is for a personal gain. Would you agree?
In a sense, yeah.
So, like, we all have a personal gain, and the true meaning of religion
but
is
it doesn't have to be like a selfish personal gain, right? It can be a gain that benefits you, and it also benefits the society.
Of course.
And your family and the people.
Well, not necessarily society, it's personal, because it's personal. It's a personal gain. But what I'm saying
personal gain can benefit everyone.
It could. Can you give me an example?
Absolutely. So you do everything you can to make your life good, right? And by so doing, you become a person who's responsible, who takes care of their own family, who generates wealth, produces wealth, say employs people.
Yeah, that's part of the system, though.
Well, that's we live in the system. We live in this.
In terms of
by benefiting yourself, you benefit others.
Yes, but in the sense of speaking religion, like true religion, the definition is serving God, right?
Yeah.
Dharam is serving God. Religion, the actual definition of religion has been forgotten. And
So
it's become more legalistic.
Would it be wrong to say that by serving God, you're also acting in your own self-interest?
Yes, you are. You are. If I want to see or meet God, then it's a personal gain to my soul. Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm enlightening myself. But nobody who wants to learn will how do I put this? Anyone who wants to learn in today's society, anyone who debates, anyone who wants to understand has a personal gain. Whereas if you're serving the true Lord, there is no personal gain, because you're not doing it for money. Any preacher, scholar, anyone who takes money because they're preaching or letting the world know of something has a personal gain, because they either want to feed their family or they're just trying to spread something that they believe in. But if you're actually serving the true God, it's not. I honestly don't think it's you're serving the God. So
I get what you're saying, and like if you just think about that, so it's the idea of God, the idea of serving God.
Yes.
Right. If you can think of it as being unselfish, right? Like you're not just trying to serve yourself. You're not, you're not
No,
doing things.
selfishness is a good thing. In Gurbani it says Pella Pangat Pacha Sangat. Sorry, I have an accent. Pella Pangat Pacha Sangat. So I'll search the definition for that, the exact definition, but I'll give you a rough definition.
Just
serve
yeah,
yourself.
Don't search it up. Just
It's really easy here. Just give me 1 second. Shoot.
But you're saying to act.
When we go to the
to do
temple,
things for personal gain is not to serve God. Is that what you're saying? You're making a distinction, right?
I'm saying that whoever, scientists, they have a job, right? It's their job.
Yeah.
That becomes a job. You're not serving the true Lord. Well, you can actually, in a way. The Sikh preachers at the Golden Temple, they're paid. They're paid. They're not doing it selfless service. They're not. However, you can be truly connected and still be paid. So, I'm right in some sort of sense. But what I'm saying is, many of the scientists who have studied and let out literature were actually paid, and it was their job to do that. And
I think what
they had a personal gain.
I think what people need to try to be aware of is when they're trying to do things for their own personal gain in a way that is not actually going to work out well for them, because they're doing things that they're ignoring things that they should be paying attention to. They're ignoring things that they should be doing that they're not doing. And so because they have a narrow focus on, say, something that they want, right, it might not be what's in their best interest. And sort of you're talking about serving God, and that's a way, thinking that way, like having that idea in mind, like what I do in my life is going to be in service of God, right? That's a way to open your mind up, open yourself up to greater possibilities, to a way that you can actually be a more useful human being, and not be motivated in selfish ways that's actually going to lead to your own destruction, which unfortunately happens to a lot of people because their focus is narrowed on things that they're trying, like for personal gain, they're trying to achieve things or get things that maybe they shouldn't really be going after.
Yeah. Because
they're not, their mind's not open to greater possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. But, sorry, my apologies. I was reading the Gurbani line wrong. It's Pehle Pangat Phir Sangat, right? And Guru Amar Das Ji created the concept of langar for Sikhs. You know what langar is, right? It's the free food that we offer at the Gurdwaras, temples. Anyone can come, poor person, rich person. They're going to sit on the ground and eat. So it's equality, right? It represents equality. A free community meal offered for everyone, regardless of religion, caste, gender, race, status, etc., as a way to unite everyone and show that everyone is equal in the eyes of God, further carrying out Guru Nanak Dev Ji's message. Everyone is required to take food and sit together on the same level, ensuring this equality.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's great. Furthermore, Guruji stressed that we should all partake in the preparation of langar. Guruji also advocated to eat langar before entering into the Guru's darbar. So, many people say, we just go there, eat, and come back. But the Guru said, Pehle Pangat, Phir Sangat. And in a sense, that's personal, your body has needs, right? Everyone has needs, their bodies need food. And Guru Sahib said, feed it first, then come, because, you can't focus on two things at once, right? You got to eat first, obviously. It's going to be hard for you to meditate or even sit down because your stomach's going to be craving and all that and kind of dying out, right?
Right. You got to take care of your material needs, but you should also
set
your sights on
something
higher.
So that's
which,
what
by the way, I do. That's I don't do this because I think it's an easy way to money. Believe me.
No, Guruji says fulfill your materialistic needs, then your spiritual needs.
Right.
So and The idea here is to first unite everyone to show equality, and then come together as one to enter into the Guru's Darbar and receive blessings and prayers from Waheguruji as a Sangat. Guruji often said, as a mother is delighted when her child takes food, as a fish is delighted when it bathes in the water, so too, true Guru is delighted when his disciples find food, which is kind of great, that's
Yeah.
true.
Can I
Because-
relate this back to
Buddhist philosophy?
no, to actually to the critical race theorists in the United States?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to say something charitable,
Yes.
something positive about some of what underlies that movement. First of all, they start with good intentions, and unfortunately, good intentions are being preyed upon by people who are pulling strings here. So the people who are on the left, in general, they, as you were saying about the Sikh temple, everybody sits on the floor so
Yes.
that because you're all equal in the eyes of God, right?
Yes.
So that's actual beautiful idea,
Yes.
right? Equality is a beautiful idea, and that I think is part of what draws good people. See, I believe that these are mostly good people who are doing these things in the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, and they are.
And-
But you're still ending.
But unfortunately, they are they're also ignorant. That's why they're called useful idiots, because they don't know the darkness that's in their own nature. They probably didn't know that what they believe to be just, what they believe to be good, and their desire for equality was gonna lead them to, almost murder that kid by hitting him in the face with a skateboard, or kicking that other guy in the head, or shooting that other guy.
Or
They-
destroying shops, local shops.
Well, yeah, burning
And
down entire
your
towns,
local community. It's horrible.
communities, black communities
Horrendous.
as well. And so they didn't realize that it was gonna end up there, and sometimes I've heard it way too much, that people say, well, actually violence and bloodshed are necessary in revolution in order to bring about something better.
Yeah.
I hear that. I heard that from a girl who was at Langara College. I heard it from the girl from the coffee shop the other day. She said that. She said bloodshed is necessary to make things better, for progress, right?
Do you believe this? Do you believe this?
Absolutely not. No, I think bloodshed is never good, and that's why we need a functioning police force.
Well,
to
bloodshed.
stop people from doing
there was
violence to each other.
bloodshed. When there was discrimination, with Sikhism, the Muslims.
I'm saying
They
it's never
wanted.
good.
It's
I'm
never.
not
It's
saying-
not ever good. But sometimes it happens,
You know-
and we as humans have kind of went through this through history.
You know the rules of engagement in war? The rules of engagement are you're not allowed to fire until you've been fired upon.
That's what. Let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
I believe it was Bende Khan. He was a emperor at the time, and he had a huge army. So they challenged Guru Gobind Singh Ji's army. Guru Gobind Singh Ji is our 10th guru, and they lived in Anandpur Sahib. And they said, "We challenge you." Guru Gobind Singh Ji came, and they came and they had their entire Sikh army, and then they had Bende Khan's army on the other side. And Bende Khan, the piece of shit emperor, said, "Fire and show us what you got," right? And he said, I don't know what he said exactly, but he said, "We will never fire first. We will never start a war." Guru Gobind Singh Ji actually never started a single war. He defended himself,
Right.
but he never ever lost a war. There was
You
14
agree-
wars,
You
and
agree
he
that
never started a single one.
violence and bloodshed are never good,
Yes,
right?
they are never good. But if it started, then we as Sikhs are told to defend ourselves.
Well, of course, I believe in self-defense.
Yes,
That's
and
an obvious
yeah,
right.
yes.
Of
but what
basic
I'm saying
human
is it happens, and then Bende Khan, he shot his bow and arrow, because that's what they had back in the day, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji, knowing the warrior that they were, got their sword out and cut it mid-air. And there's a video. I'll send it to you. It's really amazing. It's all 3D and everything.
Yeah.
But it's, you can't really show Guru Gobind Singh Ji moving because they were God's light, right? It's disrespectful to show somebody in a bodily form, as someone with such high power from the Supreme Lord. So, yeah. And then Guru Gobind Singh Ji shot it, and they got it. He was like talking. He was just laughing because he was covered in full armor, like head to toe, metal, titanium, whatever the hell it was. But Guru Gobind Singh Ji was just had a shield in the back, right? And probably they had some armor too. It wasn't showcased in the movie, but yeah. And they shot their arrow right through his ear and the other side out, and the entire army fled because they were scared. Once you kill the leader, you know that there's nothing left, right? You will be humbled when you see this. It's amazing. And he said, "Har vich nar hai, nar vich har hai." And he said, God is in my arrow at this moment. God is in my arrow at this moment. And when he shot it, God served justice.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stories. Not an anecdote.
It's a story. It's
a sucky. We call it a sucky because it's a true story. There's evidence of it.
Yeah, it's cool. No,
It's been passed through religious devotees and.
Yeah. I believe in. I believe in some sort of a spiritual force that flows through things.
Yes. Down to the subatomic particle of an atom where there's nothing left. There's nothing left. We don't see anything, but somehow it's there. How is that possible? Like all of human manifestation, the Big Bang, we can't even explain the Big Bang. Who started that? What was the first atom? And why was it there? How was it there? Who started it? Like scientists can never solve that. They can say, we are here because of this, right? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, and what was before that? So, we actually were talking about last time we were here. We were talking about
reincarnation,
quantum physics.
Quantum physics, yes, we were.
Yeah, so we were talking about how. What do you know about quantum physics?
Well, I know I don't know much actually. I know that I know how to understand it, but I don't know how to explain it to you. So, what quantum physics, from my interpretation, is looking at the world's kind of psychology and understanding, just deep things, I guess, to some extent. I don't know how to explain it to you.
Some people relate it to psychology, but
it's not psychology?
Some people think that psychology might have a role in it, that consciousness might have a role in quantum physics. This is where things are complicated. It's
okay. Explain it to me, because I've never actually looked at quantum physics or anything.
It's really interesting stuff.
It's physics, I know.
Yeah, so physics, though, classical physics, and right back to the ancient Greeks, the word atom was invented in ancient Greece, and atom was the concept of an indivisible, solid little piece of matter that everything was made of, because they worked out logically that if you were to take anything, a piece of wood, and cut it in half enough times, you would have to get down to the smallest particle of matter.
Yes.
Right? You'd have to get to a place that is indivisible.
I think that's called sin, isn't it?
You can't cut it any
sin.
more times.
I forgot the definition of that. Was it sin? S-I-N? Sign?
I don't know, but they called it the atom, right? The atom would be the smallest indivisible point of matter. So, but what physics eventually came to understand is that and we found the atom, right? But what it turns out is that an atom is not actually a solid little thing. They split it open, and a bunch of other little particles came out.
Oh, what?
Right? Yeah. Well, and all that power that's in an atom, the atom bomb, right? That's where you get atomic bombs. So, But what it turns out, quantum physics, what it figured out is that there's these things called electrons that go around the atom.
Yes, I know about that.
But those electrons, and then there's protons and neutrons in the middle.
Of course.
It turns out, though, that those, well, not just electrons, but that all particles, so like photons of light as well, right?
Yes.
They are not actually particles. And not only are they not actually particles, but they're kind of like a wave. They're kind of like a wave. And so here's the weird thing.
Some say that there's strings, vibrational strings.
That's a different theory, but apparently, according to one physicist, that's actually wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been like a dead-end path that physics has gone down for a long time, but it needs revolution. So, but let me tell you about quantum physics, okay? So there's this experiment called the double slit experiment. It's very famous, okay?
Yeah.
When they're not measuring which slit the photons are going through, they shoot a laser or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen that experiment first.
So
Not for
what
some, I've seen
happens on the other side of the two slits, you get what's called an interference pattern. Now, an interference pattern is what you would get if you drop two stones into a creek, right?
A creek,
and then they have those waves, those concentric waves that come out.
They would hit each other.
They would hit each other, and they would form an interference pattern.
Yes.
So that's what you get on the other side of the slits.
Yes. Until
you measure it. So until you actually determine which slit the particle is going through, right? Which slit.
So when you determine
when you measure it, when you observe, what happens is because what that means is that it's like a wave. It's not a particle. It's a wave. That's why you get the interference pattern. But when you observe it, it becomes a particle. It becomes a particle, and it actually goes through one of the slits and actually hits a certain place instead of just being a wave. So the idea is that one of the ideas is that it is a wave of like it's in a whole bunch of different places at once, right? It's in a whole bunch of different places at once until it's observed, and then it's in one distinct place. So it's both a wave and a particle at the same time, or it's neither. And the act of observing it makes it a particle in one particular place, as opposed to being a wave, showing that it's actually in a whole bunch of different places at once.
So that's quantum physics?
It's mind-boggling. It's very difficult to understand. And in fact, one famous physicist, Richard Feynman, said that if you think you understand quantum physics, you don't understand quantum physics.
So that means he doesn't understand quantum physics.
He did, but
but then that's totally against
the
his
point
own
is that if you think you understand it, if you actually understand it, then you understand it. But if you think you do, if you're not sure, then you don't.
Okay.
But so because he said it's extremely mathematically complex.
Yeah.
To figure this stuff out. But there's one interpretation.
If you figure out what quantum physics is, then
you're one of the smartest people alive.
Yeah, no, but not only that, you know what God did. Right?
Well, so here's the thing, right? A lot of people don't believe in free will.
He's unveiling God's secrets.
Yeah. A lot of people think that there's no free will. You know the concept of free will, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that we actually have a choice in the way our life goes.
But we don't. I had this was the question today.
Yeah.
It said, what percent of your identity do you choose? I wrote 0%.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Because you believe that God predestines everything.
Well, not only that, but even excluding the ideology of God, even mainstream media. Like if I dress today the way I did, it's because I saw it on someone else and I liked it. Yeah. The reason I wore this specific brand is because everyone else wears it, and that's why I like it. I don't really like it. I just wear it because others wear it, and it has an influence on me because you have to be socially accepted by society.
Yeah. So there's no question that we have influence, social influence, environmental influence, genetic influence. We've got a lot of influence. The question is there any freedom? whatsoever? Do you really think it's zero, or do we have any capacity to direct the course of our lives whatsoever? Strip away all the influence and just
Okay.
get down to the core of what we are. Is there something in there that can actually make a choice and choose to do a certain thing or not to do a certain thing?
Well, you can choose to walk, so that's freedom.
Is that a choice, though, or is that biological and influenced by the need to do things, which is again biological drives, the need to go after food, the need to do this, the need to do that? It could be all influenced, right?
Well, I mean, let's just focus on food, for example. So there's two options: Diet Coke or ginger ale.
Yeah.
Personal preference.
Yeah.
So that's your choice.
Right, but where did your personal preference come from? Did it come from your dad used to give you ginger ale when you were a kid?
What if you just didn't try it at all? We're trying to get rid of the influence. You said that yourself. Remove all influence. What would you choose?
You've never tried it before. You got the one right here on the left and the one on the right. Maybe that's influenced by
the way it looks or the way.
Yeah, exactly. The
You know
color
what?
it is. You got a
Then
favorite
we have
color.
zero decisions.
Zero.
Yeah, zero.
Okay.
What do you think?
This is the tough question, because we live in a society. The individualism of our society is based on the idea that we are responsible for ourselves. We are responsible for the decisions that we make. Our justice system is based on the idea that we are responsible for our own decisions that we make in life, whether we decide to be a good person or a bad person, commit a crime or do the right thing, that we have moral responsibility. That's
So
what
then
our
it all comes down to the idea of God, I guess.
Sure.
God controls us.
Maybe.
I agree.
But God controls us. Well, then does he control bad people to do bad things, or is that
Of course.
is that some kind of a devil controlling a
No.
person?
That's God. It's a balanced society.
So God controls everything that happens?
Every single thing down to the atom.
Okay, so there's no room for a devil who defies God like in the Christian tradition.
God and the devil are friends. They are literally the same. The devil is not against God, and God isn't against the devil. Once we die, it says in Gurbani, there's a Dharam Raja. And the Dharam Raja looks at your sins and everything, to see whether or not if you have succeeded. And God also says this is a game. So in a game, there's always good people, and there's always good people versus the bad people, right? And I can say I'm a good person, but you can view me as a bad person. You agree with that?
Sure.
And that's the way God has set it up. I can talk to you in a bitchy mood, and you can talk to me in a very nice mood, and you can say that I'm a nice person. This is the way that we've been programmed. This is the way that our mind is circuited, right? Have you ever thought why it is that way it is? Right? So it's not God of the gaps, like, you've mentioned that. But it's simple. It's simple thinking. Like, it's logical. It's just, there is no devil. It's all one. If you believe in the ideology of one, then there would be no devil that hates the idea of God, or there would be no, if you did a bad thing, then
So,
like all the criminals in this.
well, that means that God isn't moral and doesn't appreciate morality. That God is both evil and good, because there's evil. There's evil in the world.
There is evil. But if you understand God deep enough, like we should ask this question to Benai. You want to phone him right now?
Maybe next time.
Let's
Let's save that for next one.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that God is God. He's the supreme power. Like, we are nothing. We are nothing against God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the amount of intelligence there is like, you can't speak it. It's unspeakable. And if we say that, God is one, then even the criminals that were put into this society are there for a reason. Like, watch this video of how a Muslim parent hugged the killer of his son, and it was a black person. Not saying anything, but it was a black person, and the black person killed the Muslim father's son, and he hugged the killer. He said, "I forgive you." Can you believe how difficult that would be? He hugged the killer, and the killer says, "I'm so sorry," and he just showed the world, a loving attitude with deep affection can go a long ways. That that it was the devil. It was the devil. He said that it was the devil that made you do that crime. It wasn't you. It wasn't anyone else. It was the devil. So yeah.
There's lots of different ways of conceiving it. But,
there are. Like, you could call it the devil. I call it we call it hell and Nurk, and hell is horrible.
Yeah.
So
I
don't even understand. I haven't even focused on hell. If reincarnation is true, then where the hell would hell fit in that?
Well, it's just a different.
This materialistic world is the hell.
Well, according to Buddhism, this is one plane of existence, and then you've got other places you can be born. This is just one dimension, basically. You can be born in a dimension that's primarily characterized by pain, and that's hell. And then you got
we are all in pain if you think about it. No one's really happy in this world. You can never be too happy.
Well, it's a mixture.
It's not really.
It is. It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. You've got happiness and
it's
plenty of pleasure.
Okay, so you're right. We have temporary happiness.
Right.
It's just temporary.
Exactly.
If you want a happiness that's forever, then that's God.
Sure. Yeah.
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 Yes, sir.
But but the idea is that this is kind of a middle realm. It's got both. It's got happiness and suffering. And then if you do stuff, if you cause enough havoc here in this middle place, then you might just sink down into a place that's all pain. Or if you do enough good stuff, if you create enough joy and happiness and lead people towards goodness,
yes,
then you might go to a place that's characterized not like this one, which has plenty of pain in it, but a place that's characterized just by pleasure.
Yeah.
And you might stay there for thousands of Earth years.
Well, our Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji says we live in the time of Kali Yuga, which is a bad time, and dark ages. And what I was actually going to say was our God is our Father, and we call God's name to go back to our Father, for him to let us back into his home. And his home is the real true sugar, which we call the Sachkhand. And yeah, he's calling us. He's called us multiple times. But we are too ignorant to accept his call and come back home. We rather enjoy the pleasures that this materialistic world offers us.
The drops of honey that come along with the bee stings.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a great way to summarize that.
Yeah.
But we just like the materialistic world more, because we become so attached. When a child is born, it comes from it gets trained. We got trained before we came into this world. You did, I did. We were all fortunate enough to get trained by the one true Lord. He trained every single one of us, and he trained us to not get attached. And we made a promise, and he says, okay, we'll give you this much time until you die. From the place where you're going, right? You're going to die in that world at this time. And we make a commitment to come back to him, but many of them don't. Many of them just live the life, and actually the second after you're born, you become attached to the materialistic world, because you drink milk, life's first food, and that's material. So you become attached right away.
Yeah.
Right after you're
Everything
born.
in the world is addictive.
It is. And
First
why do you...
it's milk, then it's a cookie.
Exactly.
Some orange juice.
Why do you think that is? It's a game. Like, you can apply that to a game. It's a very smart game, actually. God has some great rules. The laws of physics, wow.
Yeah.
It's genius.
That's something I learned. That's something I learned when I was practicing meditation and following the Buddhist philosophy, where you're trying to
Yeah.
you're trying to separate yourself
Yeah.
from the material. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to break some addictions. You're addicted to coarse things that can get you into trouble,
Yeah,
that can
of
get
course.
you into fights, and
Yeah, and then you just
and all this
start
stuff.
consuming.
And then, but what happens?
You know?
What I'm trying to get at is that, like, you start to become lighter, because it's like you're taking off backpacks and chains and taking off layers, and you just become lighter. So and then your tastes become more refined. This is something people think, like, well, this is who I am, this is the stuff that I like. I like heavy metal rock and roll music, and
Yeah.
unhealthy food,
Yeah,
and,
no, you just
and beer,
become
and I feel
more
like
and
shit
more
all the time.
attached.
But, like, the thing is that when you become less attached, when you start breaking those addictions, you stop smoking, which is something I used to do. You stop drinking. You stop. And I'm not saying you have to do all this. You can be moderate and balanced. But, like, what I was really working towards, like, breaking away from addictions. And what I'm saying is that your tastes get refined. You go from liking coffee with a lot of cream and sugar to liking a cup of green tea in the afternoon, or something,
Yeah.
and like
You
smaller
become less
pleasures.
attached.
Yeah, not only that, but, like, you become you have a more refined state of consciousness, and those small pleasures, which mean nothing to a person who's addicted to coarser pleasures, become the sweetest, most wonderful things, right? Like,
Of course, and I've noticed this firsthand. Everything you're saying here is,
Yeah.
by the way, is very true.
yeah,
The people who are, and I'll say this right now, it's my street preacher friend.
yeah,
Say this off the record, but whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know this. He has a very simple life, and that's how everyone should have it. That's how everyone had it 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, except for the hierarchy. But basically, how he lives life is, he has a routine, and he's very spiritual. In the morning, he wakes up, probably does his meditation, I don't know. And he probably does, actually, because he's very, very, very spiritual. And he goes to get his groceries, and he does all his things that he needs to do. And then in the afternoon, he goes to Commercial and Broadway, and he does his street preaching. Offers harikatha, which is the explanation and explaining people. It's the katha. I don't know. It's the definition of katha is to explain, I guess, right? To translate, and he translates the God's words to people, and every day he does that. For 23 years, he's been doing that, right? So every time he comes home, comes from the SkyTrain, doesn't wear that fancy clothes, just a nice suit, and gets a dry clean once in a while, and he's just a very chill person in general. Like, the glow on his face is because of his simplistic life. Like, you can see his face, and it will have a glow on it.
it's easy to get that glow. Just
Yeah.
takes a few days of meditation and minimalist eating, and
Of course. And this guy, every day he goes to Save on Foods. Not every day, but once in a while. And gets just the amount of food he needs. And I asked him, well, what do you do for a living? And he's like, I serve the true Lord. And I'm like, well, how do you make money off of that? And then he gives me an example. He's like, well, how does an elephant get food every day? He eats about 500 goddamn pounds of food. Who's giving him that? And he said, and I was like, well, I straight away said, it's God. And he's like, yeah, just like this, I'm serving God, and he gives me what I need.
So you don't think universal basic income's a good thing? Maybe that would just be God's way of giving everybody what they need.
I mean, we'll see when it gets there, eh?
Yeah.
It's been a good podcast, eh?
Yes, it has.
I'm glad with the way it turned out. Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't done a podcast. Most of you guys have been, seeing Michael on the podcast.
Yes,
Probably wondering,
good to have you back.
Where did that kid go? Where did that little kid go?
Yeah, where's Ekam? Ekam was fun.
Yeah, man. No, it's I believe in podcasts to be very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And just talking and having a conversation, a healthy conversation, a strong conversation.
It's
with-
important
with a friend.
and
is-
sometimes you just need to hear other people having the conversation,
exactly.
and maybe
And
that'll
it's very
inspire you.
knowledgeable. Yeah, it's very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah. Let's do this again.
Yeah, down.
Yeah. Okay, so
First time in the car, hey?
yeah, if you want to support our podcast, please check out our Patreon page. The link is in the description, and also we've got links if you want to start a podcast of your own. The equipment that we use, the cameras, the mics, the recorder.
Just
So-
let us know, yeah.
and
We'll
it's all
definitely-
down in the description.
Yeah, we'll all post it down there in the description, and please comment, guys. You
Yeah.
know, we want to hear what you guys think about our podcast. We obviously, are trying to do our best, right?
Yeah, smash that subscribe button and hit the like.
Don't break your computer.
Yeah, and turn that notification bell on as well, so that you can know when we got new podcasts coming out.
Don't have your volume too high.
Yeah.
Just making jokes here.
We're going to podcast at least once a week, Ekim and I. And
Yes.
so our podcast will be released every Wednesday at 5 p.m. So, yeah.
Peace out.
Peace out.